Hello and welcome to Butlers Printed Models video number 3. This is for assembly of the Katyusha rocket launcher. Before we begin, well, these are the parts that you should have. We'll just go through tools to begin with. You're going to need a file, ideally a fairly small file if you've got one, thin or needle nose pliers, and some glue, which we'll talk about later. So these are the parts. You've got the two rocket launcher sections, the rails, the truck itself, and the two parts of the structure that's going to attach it all together. The truck will of course come with support on. This has already had its support removed. The only comment to make is be careful of these around the back. They are the weakest point. Okay, so we'll put these parts aside and start. This shouldn't be any support to remove from these parts, apart from on the two rocket launcher sections there is this strip of support around the back, which can easily be pulled off. And we may wish to just file that and remove any little pieces from there, and again the same on here. Appears to be just a few little bits to get rid of. Okay, so that's all been done on those two. Then these two parts just need to make sure, again, there's no support to remove, but we do need to make sure they are clean. So there's any little bits you want to remove, do that now. The most important part really is here. Just need to run a file into that corner, just make sure that it's a nice square corner, and also hopefully you can see this into there as well. I've already gone over these, so I know they're good. And same on the other one. This corner ideally wants to be nice and square for when we fit it. So just put a file through, and again where it's going to attach to the truck wants to be nice and clean. As I say, I've already been over these, so they're pretty good. This may need a little bit of filing, but we'll come back to that later. So the first part of the assembly is to glue the two halves of the rockets together. You won't be able to see this on the video. They are slightly different. At the smaller scales it won't make any difference at all, so you don't really need to worry about it. But if we look at this bar, one of them is thinner, or not as thick, perhaps I should say, across there. Now if I look at these, this is the thicker one, so when they go together it will be the one on the bottom. I'll say again, at this scale 15mm, it really doesn't matter, but at the larger scales it may do. So we're going to need to glue these together. The glue I would always recommend is the Humbrol polycement. Absolutely brilliant for gluing these together. It gets a very strong bond. So we'll glue these together now. Don't need much, thin layer. The instructions will say that you want to get it on both sides. So glue on both parts, just leave it a few seconds to go tacky, and then put it together. just make sure that everything has lined up, one rocket above another. Okay, and we're going to need to leave that to dry. It won't take very long, but we need to leave it before we move on with the next section. Okay, so we've waited a few minutes for these to dry. So we now need to file the end where it's going to attach onto the rails, just to make sure that we've got a flat end. Any misalignment that we might have, we can get rid of just by filing the end flat. As I said, it shouldn't take very much. Now, these are going to attach onto this end of the rail. You can see these 2 points here, they are at this end, and these are going to attach onto the other end. This is also sided. There's a nice flat side. These are all, everything's flat. On here there are some bumps and features, so that's the upper side. So again, the end where this is attaching, we want this end to be nice and flat. So again, it's worth filing it. So once you're happy that you've got a nice two flat faces to attach together, they can simply be glued. Again, really glue on both sides, leave them a few seconds just to wait for the glue to go tacky. And then line everything up. Okay, we've allowed these to completely dry before we're carrying on. Just I think we didn't make clear before, the rocket section with the slightly thicker bar is the one towards the bottom, which is the smoother side of the rail structure, and they do survive being thrown across the room. So we're now ready to attach these parts. So they're going to be attached onto the bottom, that's the smooth side. So they're not saying they're mirror images of each other. One side of these is smooth and the other side has a few raised features. So the raised features are going to go to the outside, so you'll be able to see them on the model, and the smooth on the inside, so it'll be less visible. Now these attach such that the small lug the small lug goes down there, and that everything else should then line up in its correct position for gluing into place upon the other bars. This is thinner than this hole, so you can push it towards the inside, and then you'll get a bit of extra connection point between this and the edge there. And the other one simply goes on the other side the same way. So we need to glue these two in place. I would suggest putting the blobs of glue on here and then fitting the rails. And that's it. You need to let them dry. Ideally, they want to be square, and they're pointing straight up in the air. So just be careful of that while they're drying. But they should largely stay in place fairly easily. Just let them balance. And again, we need to let that fully dry before we can carry on. Okay, we've given plenty of time for this to dry, so the only thing left is to attach this onto here. This point here is going to attach onto these two parts of the bar there. It would be recommended, something I haven't mentioned before, when we attach this onto here, you can do it any angle you like, from pretty much vertical, probably not a good idea, all the way down to the laying on the top of the cab. If you're going to go for some intermediate angle like I am, then something to rest these on while it dries is probably a good idea. So all we need to do is add a little bit of glue. Just a blob to either end. Pop this on, make sure it's on both ends of the bar. Which that is. And then we just need to let it dry. Okay, so we've left it a while to dry, and that's it, it's complete. We'll remove that, and there it is, assembly complete, ready for painting.